Death and life in the power of the tongue.
Speak life.
Death and life in the power of the tongue.
Speak life.
Death and life in the power of the tongue. Live your life, love Christ, do your best to
Speak life.
Death and life in the power of the tongue.
Speak life.
Death and life in the power of the tongue.
Speak life.
Death and life in the power of the tongue. Live your life, love Christ, do your best to
Speak life.
Hello and welcome back to another amazing episode of the Speak Life podcast. We're so excited to have you with us for another wonderful week. I am your host, Minister Phoenix, alongside another brand new co-host, first time to the show. Introduce yourself to the people, sir.
My name is Gerald, go by Gino, whatever. I'm a big fan of the show, Rev, and thank you for having me on. It's
Who are you? How did you get on this show?
No, my brother knows people. No, I'm just kidding. With the idea you were asking about ideas of blended family. I'm a loyal listener of the show. I listen every week. You know, it's a part of my week. And when you were coming up with ideas, I came up with the idea of, hey, why not talk about blended families? And being from a blended family myself, I figured maybe I could offer something to help that might be able to help some people out.
And for those of you who don't know, I'm going to let you in on a secret. This is yet another one of my older brothers, but all of my siblings are older than me, so everyone's an older something. So shout out to the listeners, all of the subscribers. We appreciate you. You are the ones who keep this podcast running. So if this is your first time, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Come, be part of the Speak Life Nation. We're glad to have you, you know? So just keep tuning in, and we just appreciate you being with us for another wonderful week. Now, we have started this conversation about blended family, and we have a few more episodes where we're really gonna jump into this. We're gonna get into it. There's so much that just goes along with it. So we're looking for different avenues in which to explore it. Now, you, sir, you have a lot of experience with this. You definitely threw us the alley-oop to the topic. So, you know, we really want to jump into it because we want to understand it. I know for me, I had a lot of questions that went along with this. And even the first, anyone who saw the introduction episode with me and the one and only, we was like, wow, there's a lot that really goes along with this. So this is just one more step for us to really get more understanding in an area that we don't, I tell people, I'm not a professional in this area. I don't know this. I don't know much about it. I have my thoughts, and I have some things that I could say, you know what, this is probably something that could be difficult, something that could be challenging. But you, sir, you're one of the experts. We have a few experts that are going to come up on here. You're one of the experts. So in your expertise and being a part of a blended family and building your own family, you know, I just want to dig into some of the difficulties that you had, especially with the combining the two families. Like, what are some challenges that really come along with that?
All right, so I don't know how much of an expert. I could give you a little bit of my experience.
Expert. I say you're an expert. Right. You're an expert. I'm the co-host. I'm the host. You're the co-host. Go with it.
All right. So So anyway, you know, like he said, and I'll give a little background. I mean, you know, we are brothers. So I didn't know about him until I was like maybe in the third grade. I was like 8, 9 years old when I found out about him.
Very interesting conversation.
Yeah, that's another one for another day. But just to give a little background and context, you know, he says an expert. I've been in a blended family. You know, I used to come around a lot. When I found out about him, my mom would have me go over, and I would go with my brothers and sisters, and you know, I got to be a part of. But then at the same time, it was like I had a whole other separate life when I went home with my mother. So it was like, you know, it's like being a part of a family, but then sometimes it's sort of like I wasn't. So it was kind of back and forth. And it could be, there were difficult times. There were times where I was a part of, and no one ever made me not feel a part of. In fact, they went above and beyond. They used to, every Friday night I'd be trying to leave, and they'd be like, "You're not going home. You
You're
staying
not
at
going
little."
home. Staying over
He used
little
to
one's
always
house.
torture me. You stayed at little one's house tonight. They used to torture me with that, and I remember asking my mom, what's the point? And she was like, "Well, this is your family, so you're gonna grow up. You're gonna eventually, hopefully, by you spending time, you're gonna learn to be, you're gonna make those connections and be a part of." And while I won't, I mean, I would say I connected, with all my brothers and sisters, but probably with you the most, more than anything. I think that doing that the way we did that helped set up, the relationship that you and I have today. I won't, you have live, we have
And
live
I
and
think we're
family.
the closest in age, but compared to
Yeah, and
those
the closest
old
in age.
people.
Yeah, of course. So exactly, but I mean, there were a lot of difficulties, and again, it was like, we didn't have that. We didn't, even though, our mom, I'll just say for the sake, Ma, she treated me like one of our own, even though I wasn't one. And I always, there was always things I struggled with, and things that, there were just different, like I always had to be separate. And I was almost like, oh, I have a different mom, so I'm not really a part of, or, when it comes down to it, I'm sort of by myself. But, those are all things in my head. And, it come to my family with, because I have a blended family of my own. I have I have three children now with, two of them from my first marriage, one from, with my new marriage, and then a stepson that I have taken on, who's now my son. I was able to bring in a lot of those, a lot of the things that I experienced. I coming into going into a marriage now, I was able to bring that in and be able to, sort of avoid some of what you would maybe call the pitfalls or things like that, to be able to help strengthen my family now today.
So I always wonder, this is one of the things that I always wonder. If you had to put a number scale on it, one being the easiest, 10 being the hardest, how difficult do you feel it is to really like bring that sense of family together when you have a blended family, like you're coming in with your children, and then you have another child that you're trying to bring together. Is there ever like that feeling of like, am I going to be able to do this, or what if this child hates me, because I'm
Oh
not
yeah,
right dad
of
and things
course,
like that?
of course. No, so in the beginning, I mean, like my stepson is, he's 8. Obviously, again, similar situation. So similar to what I was in. He's about the age I was, when I found out about my other side of my dad's side of the family. So going in now, I say on a 1 to 10 scale, in the beginning, it was probably about maybe a 6, because he's grown up. He once you get past the age of 5, you have your own way of doing things. He had a lot of things that he was used to doing, and the way he was way for certain things to be. And so me coming in, I had to kind of, I kind of had to work with him a little bit, and more probably him more than my kids. I mean, it's a whole other story for another day. But I mean, we make it work. But I made sure that with him especially, I made sure I gave him a little bit more attention, just because I know what it was like to
Mm.
be that child. And I can tell you today, he doesn't, he I never make him call me dad. It's never been something like, he can call me, he calls me Gerald. He will call, but but in his actions, like if he's outside with his friends and I tell him to do something to his friends, I'm like, oh, my dad wants me to do this or that. So it's sort of understood. I've always given him the choice. Like, I don't think you should force a child. If you're getting in a marriage, you force him. You need to call me dad. I'm your dad. I let him make that choice on its own. And and, they make it out of love. If you force them, you're not really helping that child. And so, with him especially. But in the beginning, like I said, it was a little difficult, because my kids were coming from, there were things, they were coming from previous marriage that I had, and so and then my wife now was coming from a previous marriage, and so coming all together, we had to make, not make sacrifices, but we kind of had to figure out what we were as a family unit, and then from there just kind of build.
I should have pulled Tony in on this conversation too, because she could have gave us some gems to really add in this, And,
Oh yeah.
I think about it, and it's like, and like you said, you came in, with two little ones of your own. Was there ever a time where you like sat down with them and was like, listen, we're about to make our family bigger, just kind of pick their minds on things? Or was it just like, all right, you're just coming for the ride, let's
go? No. So see, one thing with my kids that I've, I have my two first, Jonas and Rosie. I've always been a person that I don't sugarcoat things with them. I'm always real with them. I will tell them, like, if something's bad, I'll tell them, like, hey, this is what's happening. I was previously, I'm in recovery, and there was a time in the beginning where they didn't understand why things were the way they were, and I had to really talk to them about, hey, when I got divorced, it was, hey, listen, Daddy's getting divorced. It's not your fault. I told them, I sat down and I actually explained it to them. Other people would be like, oh, you shouldn't. It's like, no, I believe, I respect them enough, and I think they're smart enough that, I shouldn't have to hide things from them. And I think they respect me more because, you teach your kids, teach your kids for them to be able to come to you with anything, to be able to talk to you. But you got to show them the same respect. You got to still be able to talk to them.
Reciprocity, yes.
Yeah, so you got to be able to do that. So I've always been like, hey, listen, this is what it is. And so with Tony, when me and Tony got together, actually, there was a little worry on my end about that, like, because my kids were I've always been protective of my kids. I'm
pretty sure every good parent is.
Of course, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't just let anyone around my kids. It's like, I didn't realize I was that protective of them in that sense, but I am. I'm very, like, who's around them, what's influence them, and everything. But they met Tony and Xavier, and they instantly bonded. My daughter didn't like anybody at the time. Anyone who knows my daughter Rosie knows, that she's a special one.
Individual.
Yeah, very interesting individual. But she warmed right up to her, and so when it came time to, I was thinking about getting, we were thinking about getting married. I asked them, what do you think about? I call my family the home team. We refer something my mother, instilled in me. We used to we had some pretty rough times, and she'd be like, hey, we're a home team. Ain't nobody got it better than us. And I'm like, Mom, everybody got it better than us. And she's like, no, we're the home team. So it's something I've always carried on. My mom, rest in peace. So when I talk to my kids, I'm like, so, what do you think about Tony and Xavier joining the home team? And they were like, yeah. And, my son Jonas loves Xavier. They're brothers from another mother. They connect probably just as, it reminds me a lot of how you and me connected, and stay connected. And so, and then when, so I explained to them, and they were all for it. And I thought, like, oh, what if, they don't like him and stuff, but because you always, growing up, my mom had a series of boyfriends, when I wasn't, and what do you think about this person being around? I'm like,
we used to have some fun with that one.
Yeah, we had to have some fun with that. A lot of fun. That's another episode for another day, talking about that. But no, I'd always be, every time I had to hear that conversation of, what do you think about this person moving? Oh God, no. But having that conversation with the kids, it was a painless one. They were all for it. They were like, yeah, let's do it.
Now there's something that I caught that you said, and you shared that with our bigger brother, is that transparency. Like, you see a lot of times where parents don't want to be real with their kids, and they don't want to be transparent about things that are going on. And then it's like later on, and that was something that just popped into my head, like, just from the different, episodes that we've had, is like how you see how important being transparent with your children are, and really being straightforward with them. and letting them know, like, all right, like, this is how I feel about things, or, you know, like, this is what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And how important do you think that is, especially coming into a new relationship, you know, and you have, you know, your children, and you're adding to your family with this next piece of your family? How important is it to really be transparent, in your, you know, opinion, with your children? No sugarcoating, just letting them know, like, listen, this is what it is. Let me know what you think. Do you feel like that gives them more of a voice, and really, you know, and how they deal with the situation? Do you feel like that empowers them? Do you feel like that's just like, you know, you trying to kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of like humor them, like, I just want to hear what you think. Like, how do you think that makes them feel as children, to know, you know, that you really want to hear their input on what you're thinking in these moments?
Well, you know, actually, and it's funny because you know, Big Brother K or Luch, he said it in one of the last episodes. You know, if you don't have those conversations, those transparent conversations with them now, no matter what they're talking about, like Jonas is in the World War II. We talk about, he can tell you about everything there is to know about D-Day, whatever. But you know, every time he tells me, and I've heard it a million times, and he'll probably tell me a million more, I listen, because if he can't come to me about what he's interested in, that no matter how many times I've heard it, how can I expect him to come to me with the big stuff? And it's the same thing. Like if you know, quote, like I'm building my home, like the home team. The home team don't work if everybody's if it's me just telling everybody what to do or whatever. You know, I'm in charge. I'm the head of the family, but at the same time, you know, I'm not a dictator. I'm not, you know, I need, you know, you want to hear what people think. You want to hear, you know, you want to hear different opinions and stuff. Like there are times when I make them do things that they don't want to do, and they're like, hey, I don't really want to do this, and I'm like, hey, listen, I understand. And every now and then we'll disagree on some things, and we'll talk about them. In the end, you're still going to do it the way that I want you to do it, but I'm going to help you to understand why you're doing it that way. You know, I tell them all the time, like, I'm always very transparent with them, with certain things, and that's a whole other, that can go into a whole other thing of parenting. You know, like, you know, one of the best things I heard, and it was from it was, you know, it was from somebody that I at the time didn't agree with what he was saying. He used to tell me, he was like, hey, the world don't owe you nothing. And so he was very much like, you know, you need to work hard, because when you get in the real world, it's not going to be something that, you know, it's not, nobody knows you anything. You know, people do because they want to do, but in the end, you're going to have to learn how to do certain things. And so with my kids, I'm very transparent, where I tell them, like, there are days I'm going to probably be hard on you. You're going to be doing chores you don't want to do. You're going to do a lot of things you really don't want to do. And I'm transparent. I'm upfront, like, hey, listen, you're not going to like it, but in the end, you know, you'll thank me. One of the things my mother did to me, I think another thing she did, I remember I needed $50. I was when I first moved out on my own. I needed some money to pay a student loan bill. You know, I had you know, irresponsible kid living in Miami. I needed $50, and you know, I needed groceries that week. And my mother's like, you know, I got the money. I'm not gonna give it to you. She's like, you need to. And I'm like, Mom, you can't do this to me. You know, if you do that, right, I'm not gonna have money for groceries. She's like, eat PB&J for a week. I'm like, you're really not gonna give me the money? She's like, nope. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? She's like, pay the bill and then starve. And I was like, oh. But you know what? I did, and in that whole week, it was like it taught me that responsibility, and you know, that transparent, you know, being transparent. Well, she could have helped me, but she didn't. I remember, matter of fact, you know what? A couple months later, I thanked her, because I knew that if I didn't do things a certain way, I was gonna have to, you know, I knew, oh, I gotta save $50 every month no matter what I'm doing, because if I do, to pay this bill, I'm gonna need to eat. You know, little things like that, and it's the same lesson like that you can apply to many things. Like, you know, I'm transparent with my kids with a lot of things. So in the end, you know, I'm hoping that when they get to that point, they'll see that what I was doing for them, you know, they'll see I'm doing for them something to help them out in the future. You know what I mean?
Nice, nice. Now this one is a good one. I asked this question to Kay last week because I'm really interested in the dynamics that go along with this. Now, both of you, you and Tony, I really should. Next time, I'm bringing Tony along. Next time, the next time we have like a conversation that concerns family or parenting, just warn her now. I'm not even asking. I'm just gonna be like, y'all on the show. Just know it's happening. It's happening.
I'll tell her.
So just put it in the back. I might just text her right
now. She'll be listening to this. So Tony, when you hear this, you'll be on the next show eventually.
Mind now, so it's not a surprise when it comes up. But with this piece, now you're both coming from different relationships, and you're building a new family together. How does that affect the co-parenting dynamic with the exes? How do you still maintain, because we all have visions for our children, we all have different ideals and morals that we want to try to instill in them as they're getting older, so it's like, now that you have this bigger family that has pieces from both of your past, how does the collective vision for all of the children now, because in one way or another you're all connected, how does that shared vision work with the co-parenting piece? Like, I remember talking to like last week, you can have the vision for what you want to see from your kids, but if the other parent doesn't, it could kind of cause like difficulties in what you're trying to do and how you may be trying to raise them and things like that. So how does that dynamic play in the success of your family? Is it more of a strain? Is there some difficulty there? Like, what are some challenge, some pros and cons, if you will?
Okay, so and I say this disclaimer for anybody. I'll say this, if anybody you decide to marry, and you have kids with, just know that whether you get divorced, you stay together forever, you guys are locked in to raise that child together for life. So if you're gonna be with somebody like that and you get divorced, make sure you guys actually get along. Make sure you can coexist. I can tell you, it can really stink if you don't. As far as like co-parenting with my ex-wife, we don't really. I mean, it's a little difficult. There's still a lot of resentment for how things happen, and with her and I, and that's like I said, a story for another day. 98% of that's my fault. I take accountability. You can't be married to a raging alcoholic who's just going crazy. So I take accountability on that part. So, but at the same time, we both want what's best for the kids, and I tell her all the time, like, we don't always, we can't always communicate. It's usually, hey, me saying, hey, do you want to do this? Can we do this or that? And it's usually her just saying, nope, I want nothing to do with you. Or, you have to be able to communicate. I mean, we're to a point today where we can communicate enough that, hey, I'm going to come pick them up this day. I get them this time. And if she needs something for them, I'm always, because more than anything, my kids, the kids come first with me, everything, well, God, then the kids, God, my wife, then the kids. So they as far as co-parenting, she, unfortunately, it's sort of like when Jonas and Rosie are with their mom, they do what she wants to do with them. When they're with us, we try to do what we can do. We do our best. I mean, the best thing I can do is I do my best not to undercut her. Mm-hmm. So I will tell the kids, because the kids obviously look at you like, like they see this family, and then we do a lot of family stuff, and they kind of do like, oh, what about like Jonas at the time was like, hey, what about mommy? And I'm like, well, mommy loves you and daddy loves you too. So we both want the best, but we have different ways of going about getting it. So for any of the listeners, hey, like I said, if make sure you can tolerate that person, make sure you can get along, because in the end, the parent, the kid needs both parents. I mean, they need, I know, like with Jonas and Rosie, that they need my part, what I'm going to give them. they need, but they also need that part of what their mom will give them. If not, you're going to be raising a person that's going to have half of what they need. And, as parents, you need, it's two parents, and I think Kay said it beautifully last week. You need things that only your dad can give you, instill in you, and you need things that a mom can instill in you. I'm lucky in the sense that, I'm going to instill everything, pour in everything I can to my kids to make them the best that they can be. They'll get they'll get stuff from their mom, but then they'll also get stuff from Tony too, because Tony, they'll call her, mom number two, or just, Tony mom. So they'll get what they need. As far as like co-parenting on Tony's side, her Xavier's dad, he's not really in the picture. So, but they have a good relationship, like she can call him and they can talk. I have a good relationship with him. I give him crap all the time. He's a Cowboy fan. So you know what so you already know.
It's like being a Dolphins fan.
I know. Exactly. So, but I could pull his leg on that, and he'll give me slack for being a Patriot fan. But we can talk. And he knows that I want the best for Xavier, and he wants the best for him too, and we're gonna pour in. So in that sense,
piece, I wanna touch on that piece right there, because you don't often, at least I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but from what I see, you don't often see those kind of civil relationships between someone from the past and the present. So with that, does it make it easier on the parenting piece when y'all all have those lines of communication open, and you can be civil, and you can be like, you can crack jokes, and he knows that you have his son's best interest at mind, even though he can't be there?
Oh yeah, it does. It makes it very much easier, because I thought about it at the time. What would I do? As far as I know, my ex-wife isn't dating. She might be. She's a very private person. But, I had originally thought, like, if there's going to be another guy in the picture, like, there was a kind of part of me that's like, well, that guy better know he's not dad. I'm dad. That was my original thought, But at the same time, it's like,
before also.
Exactly. So I'm like, that was my original thought. But I thought, if someone wants to be there for them, I got no problem with that. In fact, in the end, again, it goes back to what's the goal here? The goal is to raise the kids up, be the best they can be, and make sure they have everything that they need. Like I know like I said, with my kids, I don't want them to not have anything, and I go without anything. I want them to be as well-rounded individually as they can. Not knowing, I want them to know who they are, which I teach my kids who they are. They know their history. Know their roots and everything like that. I teach them. All bunch of little things like that. So, and then for them, when Xavier sees me joking with his dad, he knows that, there's no competition. There's no, I'm trying to, and he knows, and he also knows I'm not trying to replace him, because I tell him, your dad is your dad, or I tell him that's your father. I sometimes refer to me as dad. Like you have your father and you have dad. And so, in the same thing with with Jonas and Rosie, it's like mommy is mommy, but they have Tony mom or Tony. Tony's not replacing mommy. Mommy's so it's always when they see that we can communicate and they see that we're on the same page, it helps them kind of put a little at ease, because I don't know I know when I was a kid, I used to see. I used to see my mom go at her father sometimes, and I'm thinking like, oh man, and so you start thinking like, there's it's like the silent war of stuff. And sometimes kids, kids' imaginations, they're smarter than they let on. So, letting them see that, that everybody's on the same page, everybody's working toward the same goal. It helps them to just focus on what they need to do, and that's to be kids. Because I don't know, but I know I used to worry about stuff I probably shouldn't have worried about as a kid. With parents and stuff like that.
With that, you said something very interesting that I really liked. On there's two things that you said that really kind of resonated with me. The first one was, with your ex-wife dating, it's like you know, whoever she brings in, you know, they better know that, you know, they're not dad. And I think a big thing about that in relationships that don't work, and then when you're trying to reestablish, you know, your life and your family, there's always that thought or that fear that somehow whoever gets brought in is going to replace you, you know. And I think that thought of feeling like you could be replaced in your child's eyes, I know for me that would be ridiculously at the top of my list of like, I know they're not trying to replace me. But it's like one thing as I think as parents that we need to remember is that, you know, mommy is always going to be mommy, and daddy will always be daddy. And the thing that you said that I really liked was the fact of being open with your children to the fact that, listen, I'm not trying to replace your dad. She's not trying to replace your mom. If anything, you know, we're just kind of adding to it. So it's like, you know, you have mommy, and then you have mommy Tony, and you have, you know, your father, and then you have dad over here, or G over here, or whatever, you know, you choose to, you know, accept me as. But it's just like, rather than, and I think that's where a lot of problems probably come in, is this thought of, you know, being replaced rather than being supplemented and being added on to, you know. So I think that's a real awesome piece. And, you know, and seeing that dynamic really taking form and taking shape. And I had one more good question that I wanted to ask you, and you may not be able to answer this question. It's not on our questions list.
All right, I got it. I could probably answer it.
I'm pretty sure you will, because you're an expert at this. Remember, I'm the amateur. You're the expert. You know, self-proclaimed. Well, I don't know if that's self-proclaimed, because you didn't say it. I said, whatever. I proclaim expert at this. Because we like to drop gems and give people something that they can hold on to even after the episode is done. And I would ask this: if you could give someone some advice, like a tidbit of advice of, let's say, you know, they're working on a blended family, they're having some difficulties, they're trying to make it work, you know, they may have some challenges, you know, if you could say, I'll give you 2, I won't do 3, unless you want to do 3. If you want to do 4, you can do 4, whatever. You're the expert. If you could give someone listening, you know, who's struggling with trying to keep the blended family together and trying to make it work and make it mesh, and, you know, let everyone know they're on the same page, like, what is some advice that you could give them to help them, you know, and just trying to make it work, and just trying to make sure, you know, the kids are okay and that everyone's on the same page? And I don't know, just tell me, what did you do to make it work?
Okay, so again, I'm not a self-proclaimed expert, and if
yes,
you know,
you
if my
are.
wife,
You're a Phoenix proclaimed expert. I deem you expert.
Okay. Well, anyway, like I said, with my family, and I'll use my family for example. Obviously, you know, I have a son and a daughter. My son is 10. My daughter is 8. My stepson, or my other son, my middle son, is 8. He's 2 weeks younger than my daughter. And me and my wife, now we have a 6-month-old. So, you know, the dynamics of that.
Are y'all getting sleep yet? Side note, sleep yet?
A little bit, not that much.
All right.
Yeah, you might see the bags. Anyway,
Keep going.
You know, so what we do is, and you know, it's you're taking a whole new thing and you're building a nucleus. So again, you know, I base it off of, you have to have that transparency. You have to have that trust. You very much, I had, like, for me, I build that rapport with the kids. We do things together as a family. You know, if it's just playing outside, if it's sitting down and having dinner. Sometimes, you know, me and Tony we'll do an activity together. We'll play, I got a Super Nintendo Mini. We'll play Mario Kart. I'll destroy her. Yeah, I said it, Tony. I destroy you. And then the kids are rooting, and other times, just to promote camaraderie, because I'm a big kid myself. We'll have Nerf wars in the back where, like my stepson and my daughter, like my stepson's still a little apprehensive with her at times. So what I'll do is we'll play a game where they're on the same team, and they're going with a common thing, which will be, hey, defeat dad. Because who wouldn't want to beat dad in North Wars, or try to get dad or something like that. We'll do like water gun fights, and everyone will be against me. But the point is, I build that camaraderie with them, or little things like that, build the trust. Another thing also is, you're not going to get to know anybody if it's like, if you don't spend time. You have to spend time. You have to do that. Like,
say that piece again for the people who ain't hear it, because you get some people who be like, I don't need to do that. Tell them again.
No, you got to spend time. I mean, nowadays, I tell you, my kids are like, they're electronic junkies. It's Switch, Roblox, all that. Every now and then, turn the game off. Let's play a board game. Let's do something together. Let's watch a movie. Let's do something. Let's spend some time together. You're not going to get to know each other if you're just kind of like, you're walking by. Hey, how was school? No, that was good. How was work? So you got to spend time together. You gotta get to know. You got to know who your family is. You have to get to know it. It sounds crazy that you be saying that in 2021, but you got to get to know, know your family, know what their interests, what they like, outside of maybe video games or whatever, outside of TV and stuff. And then the other thing is, those are the two main things. And for me, what we do is, we have times where we'll just randomly go places. My wife is a bit of a socialite, so we're always going places. We do activities together. And she's gonna kill me after this is over. No, we do little things together. That things like that bring us together as a family. And then, of course, when you add a baby into the mix, because when Marley was born, it was kind of like, some of the kids thought, you're gonna love him more. But I tell them all the time, I love them all equally. I always tell them, hey, who's my favorite child? And they'll be like, no one, right? I'm like, that's right. I love them all equally.
That piece, I want to stop you right there, because that piece, I feel like that is like, even if you're not in a blended family, like, but especially in that dynamic, I would feel, and I don't know, but I would feel like for the child coming in is to make sure that they feel that equal love.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that's really big. Don't show favoritism to your people, kid, to your kids, people. I said that back.
Oh yeah.
No favoritism. They are your children. You love them all the same. So that was amazing. Keep telling us more about that. I just
so I can tell you, my son. Amazing. Oh no, when he was born, like I said, he was born in July, so we just, he's only 6 months. And my daughter in particular was very, very jealous. Like before he was born, she wouldn't even touch Tony's stomach. Wanted nothing to do with him. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. We're like, I was like, I might have to go to get some help or whatever. But I think when she realized over time that, hey, he's not replacing, like you said, and that's the main, and that's almost become like the theme, to know that no one's getting replaced here. We only add. We just add to. And when she realized he's just being added to, and he's just here to be your brother, just like the other two were, they have a relationship today. I think that, I say I love my kids more than anybody else. I think my daughter probably loves Marley more than I do. The way I'm like, because, she's always, they have already, even at 6 months, they have this relationship. And I'm like, man, wow. And so, I guess that's the main thing, is that you ease everybody, you get to know each other, you spend time together, you do things together, that you just want to add to, you want to add, you're not replacing anything, you're not changing anything, you want to add, you want to make better. If you want to say optimize, you optimize. My stepson likes animals, so I'll watch Wildcats, or I'll do something, to show that, that interest. I'll take interest in what they're doing. Like I said, I can't, you can't build trust if, and I think Kay said it best. If you can't talk to them and they can't come talk to you when the stuff is hitting the fan, when they're teenagers and they're adult, how are they ever going to trust you? You have to build the trust now. And it's a trust that'll last. If you do it right, it'll last a lifetime. I can tell you with my oldest, he tells me everything. I have a relationship with him that's, I kind of I've kind of based it off of what I've been through, but all the same things I've learned with with step parents and with siblings, I put into with him. And today it's like he tells me everything. I mean everything, and sometimes to a detriment of, you don't have to tell me that. You can just go do this or that, but But
like,
the point is,
I want you to know.
Yeah, exactly. But I guess the real point is, the best advice I can give is for parents is, especially with blended families, get to know your kids. Find common ground with them. If it's a video game, if it's sports, if it's something, show them that you're there not to replace. And then I don't know what this, and then whatever the situation is with the other side of with the other parent, never cut them down. Just this is all simple stuff, but just okay.
You'd
Hey,
be surprised. You say it's simple stuff, but some people they need to be taking notes right now. If you ain't got your note, you go grab you a Sharpie, start writing this stuff down. This is gold.
Yeah, like I said, just you build a relationship, and in the end, remind them that you're just there to help. You're not replacing. And I can tell you, my kids, we're not where we want to be just yet. We're getting there. I would say all of them. We have a great relationship. I have my wife has a great relationship with Jonas and Rosie, which that's a whole other thing. We do another show on step parents, because she's poured so much into them. I don't even recognize them now from like personalities. They're starting to flourish and who they were, who they could be and stuff. And that's like, there were things that, as a dad that I couldn't give them. I could pour into them. There were things that I could give them, but there was some things that they needed from like a mom figure. And they weren't really getting that with their mom. Nothing that she, not that she wasn't doing anything wrong, but there was just something that I couldn't give her, their mom couldn't give her, but she could. And now it's like they are, especially Rosie is thriving.
Wow.
She, future CEO of America. I'm going to be working for her one day.
Hey.
And so it's
Rosie,
like
remember her uncle who likes to live in warm climates.
Yeah, I know, right? But that's the thing. Step parents, that's they can pour into you. They can pour in, or they can add another dynamic that, and again, you want kids to be more, you want them to be as well-rounded as you can. And you can do it. Like I could have raised them by myself. I could, take away if I did the marriage. I could have did it, but they wouldn't be the people they're being now. They would be missing those things. So it's like, you want to optimize them as much as you can.
Yeah. Well, that was amazing. I know we were talking, our main topic was blended families, but there's so much parenting. And just the past 2 episodes, there's so much parenting information that we've been getting. Oh, man, we're going to see where this goes. But I think we're going to wrap right there. We thank you for the gems. We thank you, for coming and rocking with us. For everyone who doesn't know, remember, death and life are in the power of your tongue. So make sure that you speak life. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe. And I'm sure we will have you on another episode for doing something. We will figure it out. So I thank you again for coming out and rocking with us. We appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate you for having me. Thank you.
Have a great week, everybody.
All right.